faking suicide messages. What? Yeah, who would have guessed? Toaster was faking it for attention.
Oh, you thought it was over? You thought I wouldn't talk about PlayerRR one more time? No. Of course I had to bring this back one last time with some more PlayerRR drama. I'm excited for this. Yeah. It's been 7 months. We need to bring this back. Gosh, it's been 7 months already? That's kind of insane, not gonna lie. But anyways, I'm sure you all know who PlayerRR is. And if somehow, some way you don't know, it was basically a Gorilla VR GT clone but for Rec Room. But that's just like the surface level of what it is. Today we're going like deep into PlayerRR lore with a name that might sound familiar, Prim Monrose. Monrose? I don't really know how to say it, I'm sorry. But Prim is an artist. He makes music and does Rec Room concerts and stuff like that. So while PlayerRR was happening, Player attended one of Prim's concerts, and Prim afterwards said, "I hope you enjoyed the show." Player said it was a W, and I want to reveal myself like that too. And so he suggested a Player broadcast event, and that he could get that done. But Toast and Prim were happy with this arrangement. Prim was good at making concerts, in this case a reveal, and Toast needed one. But everything was all nipped and dandy, until the week leading up to the PlayerRR events, where it seems like from the screenshots Toast sent me, Prim wanted to work on the room alone. She wanted to be like a lone builder, even though she had her colleague, Pizza, right by her side. But I guess she just decided not to allow him to work with him. He says here, "Shut the flip up. You know how stressful I was over it? If you want to work 19 hours on it by yourself, be my guest." But then Pizza's like, "Why are you doing this to yourself? You had all week and I could have helped you if you wanted it." So Prim kind of put all this pressure on himself. And I mean, I can kind of see why, because you would want to be known for the PlayerRR reveal, arguably the biggest thing that happened in 2024 for Rec Room, but he put all this weight on himself and basically just collapsed. And so that kind of brings us to today, or a few days ago, when Prim made this video calling out Toast. So let's give it a watch.
I really didn't think I'd ever have to make one of these, but here we are. So I'm not sure how many of you have heard of the creator Toaster before, but he created something called PlayerRR, which was basically something to get people thinking and guess who the YouTuber behind it was. And I don't want to brag, but I messaged Skull 10 minutes after his video came out, which is where I found out about PlayerRR, and guessed it straight away. It really wasn't that hard. Anyways, recently Toaster uploaded a video where he decided to sort of rewrite history and throw me under the bus. Which cool. Love that for me. I'm being included in drama for once if I made it now. But I figured it's time to clear the air and I'll tell you what actually happened leading up to the PlayerRR event, which was the big event where Toaster revealed himself to be PlayerRR. So I don't actually remember when I first connected with Toaster. All I remember is that one day the PlayerRR account watched us as we rehearsed the original Maybe Man tour. Afterwards, I messaged him on Discord, which he did show in his video, where I was like, "Hey, do you want the PlayerRR reveal to be a broadcast event?" He originally wasn't sure about it because he didn't know if he wanted to reveal to me, which I totally got. It was his big creative thing, and good on him for having some kind of like resilience in keeping up his anonymity during the event. Then a month later, on July 10th, Toaster messaged me asking if there was still an option for him to do the reveal, at which time we'd just been informed as the broadcasting team that broadcast will be gone for a month. So it's time to introduce you to our second person. Time for Pizza. Now, Pizza is a great guy. I don't have any bad blood with him at all. My problem with Pizza is the way we work together. It just doesn't work out very well. The same year, we'd done an event called A Very Prim Prom, which was a huge prom event like the Ethan Bornick event, but surrounding me and my music. And while you can go into the event room now and it works perfectly, at the time of the event, it did not work perfectly. This is because very last minute Pizza wanted to add some storefronts and mess around with the clamps, and one of the scenes in it, the clamps were all very broken and it just wasn't a good look for the event. Again, no hate to Pizza for this. Anyways, Pizza will be important later. The only thing we need to focus on now is broadcasting is shutting down in 3 weeks for a month. And Toaster made the very fair point that if we did the event after this time frame, the hype for Player would have probably died down, and I agree with him totally, it would have. But this is contradictory to the point that he made in his video where I was the one to blame here. Okay. From here, let's go through everything.
However, Prim ended up not working on the event until the very last second.
Okay, Toaster, you're right. I did work on the event very last minute, but not the day before. No, a week before. Okay, so here's what really happened. After we agreed that it was going to be a broadcast event, I got added to a group chat with Toaster and Time for Pizza. And at no point was it agreed that anybody else was going to be working on this event.
Okay, well that isn't true, because you and Pizza were supposed to be a team. Even if you don't think he's a good builder, he could still be there when you needed him, but you just never chose to get any help. You wanted to work on it alone. So I don't really get that part, but let's keep going.
Let alone that Pizza would be able to put his name on this event. And we had an argument about this. I'll be straight up. I didn't like the fact that I wanted to work on this by myself and that all of my work would be under somebody else's name. And like I said, this was my choice to work on it solo.
Okay, so basically Prim just wanted to work on it alone so she can get all the credit for building the room and everything. Prim wanted the whole thing to be made by her.
I didn't want Pizza to work on it due to prior issues. And while all of this was going down, I was actually working in Blender creating the event space. Then Foglu, who I love by the way, go sub to him, posted that now infamous blank room screenshot, which was 2 days before, and it was before I actually uploaded any of the Blender things into Rec Room. I explained it to Toaster, and he was cool with it. Then the day of the event came. The room was ready. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. There were some broadcasting syncing issues that I will totally take the blame for. I was terrible at syncing at the time. And everybody loved it, and it went so smoothly.
Ah, yes, everyone loved the event. Couldn't have gone smoother. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Where's the Grammy? Where's the Grammy? But yeah, that was the stream with the audio on. It was dead silent for like 8 minutes, and practically nothing worked. So I don't know what Prim is saying here when he said that the event went so smoothly and everybody loved it. That just isn't the case, but I guess we'll keep watching.
Until Toaster missed his only cue. His one job was to stand behind the curtain, and when it dropped, he wasn't there. How is this my fault?
Okay, so Toaster told me that they had barely any time to rehearse it since Prim got it done so late. They had maybe a few hours to get everything together for the reveal. So obviously if the room was ready earlier, Toast could have been more prepared, but that's just my thinking.
But then the videos started coming out of people with loads of criticisms about the event and PlayerRR as a whole. And it was pretty much radio silence from Toaster for months regarding PlayerRR and what had happened with the event. And that was it. Until out of nowhere, he posts a goodbye note thanking people. But guess whose name wasn't on there? I wasn't on there. What? But you know who was on there? Pizza. And he was thanked for being with him during and after PlayerRR, which I was.
Okay, this is definitely the most messed up part by Prim, because that letter was not just a goodbye note, that was Toaster's suicide note. It was meant to be his final letter saying thank you to everyone who helped him, because like everyone else, Toaster has a real life, and none of us know what is fully going on with his real life. And back then, he was going through some hard times, with people hating on Player and sending really bad messages to him. It was all a lot to handle. And Prim being mad that he wasn't in this letter is extremely selfish and disturbing, because he knew what the letter was for too.
We then decided after reading it, this was his final message, or intended to be his final message. And I spam called him. I was genuinely worried and I wanted to know he was safe. That was until I saw him online on Rec Room and Discord. What? Yeah, who would have guessed? Toaster was faking it for attention.
Yeah, also an absolutely insane claim to make. Toaster was not faking that for attention. And me myself personally know that as a fact. I'm not going to go into detail about what he has or why this happens to him, because that is extremely personal. And if he was doing it for attention, why would he not continue? There's so many big gaps in this, but if you're a decent human being, you would realize that this was never for attention.
Again, he was doing something for attention. Save Rec Room, PlayerRR. Now this is stepping the line. And after that, I couldn't take it. If you've seen my show Bigger, you know what that means to me. And playing around with that is so messed up. So I left and I spoke to Toaster once, maybe twice about little bantery things, but I never really liked him the same way.
So yeah, again, it wasn't for attention. But honestly, Prim, are you doing this for attention? I mean, nice little plug to your song at the end there.
Anyway, enough drama. If you want to support me after all of this chaos, go stream my new song, Up In My Head. It's out now, and I promise there is no shady Rec Room player lore attached to it.
But that, everyone, is the end of the PlayerRR drama. Or the start of it. Who knows at this point? I don't really get why Prim is going out Toaster for this, because we all know that Toaster does not do this for attention. Hopefully we all do. I try to get that message across. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyways, thank you to our members Reed, Ducky, and Pal, and I will see you all in the next one.